For the next few minutes, while I have you, I want to first and foremost welcome you and do a quick moment. Let me take a break for a second and do a quick moment. Make sure you're hitting in the chat some of the takeaways you've gotten, some of the people that you've really connected with, and then go after and grab their stuff because your life is going to be changed. Because here we are in 2025, and if you're here, you are just a different breed. Why is that? Because by the 80% quit their New Year's resolutions, their goals by the second Friday of the year. We're at the end of January. You're here. You're watching this. Here we are. You are a fighter. You are not somebody who is going to quit. Matter of fact, so many people quit their resolutions by the second Friday that they actually consider it, or they call it officially, Quitter's Day. And you know, as just as much as I know, that quitters never win and winners never quit, right? So you're a fighter. These are two things I know about you as we get started. I know that you are a fighter, that you want to win. And in all of that is that here's where it comes in. You're going to do whatever it takes to accomplish those two things. So welcome. Grateful that you're here with us. So let's dive in today, because I'm not going to give you like a lot of strategy or tips today, because you've got a lot of strategies and tips. But I also know that you're somebody who, especially in the entrepreneurial space, you're somebody who collects a lot of strategy and a lot of tips. But one of the challenges we face is that we continually have goals that mimic last year's goals and the year before that. You ever had that? Like, you put up a vision board and the vision board looks exactly the same as every other vision board you ever did? It's because we're not completing goals. We're not our productivity is low. We have great wishes, but we have no results. And I think this is where we get into things. So I'm not going to give you into too many tips or strategies, but what I am going to do is give you a new way of looking at something. And I'm going to challenge you to evaluate this, because if you evaluate what I'm about to give you, your productivity will go up through the roof. Your goals will be met, and you will find yourself walking into 2026. I know it's weird talking about 2026 when we're in 2025, but you're going to find yourself walking into 2026, looking back, being like, look how far I've come. Look how far that I've made, right? Because I don't want you to be somebody who is going to be at the end of the year and like, man, where did the year go? I wish I would have. I wish I could have. So let's start and give you the three things. It's just three thoughts that you're going to make sure that you're going to evaluate aggressively with. This is going to be your focus, because if you get this right, everything else is just cake, icing on the cake. So here's the deal. If you don't hear anything else I say today, the one thing I want you to take away with, the one thing that I want you to grab hold of, is that if you have the right place, the right environment, the right people, and the right information, you will be unstoppable. Now, you hear all the gurus out there and all the experts saying, if you have this strategy and this framework, you're going to be unstoppable. No. Like, they may make you an expert, they may make you profitable, they may make you a lot of things. But if you want to become unstoppable, somebody who is constantly reaching their goals, you've got to aggressively evaluate the environments you're in, the people that you've placed in that environment with you, and the information that's coming in and out. So let's spend the next few minutes unpacking that, because this is the three-step or three thoughts that you're going to have to really focus on if you want to complete your goals at a high level. Because environment dictates everything, really. The people you're around you in that environment will determine what you get out of life, right? And we want you to be winners. We want you to be people who are going to have results, not just wishes and goals, right? We want those goals complete. So the first thing is we're going to really unpack is the environment, the place you're in. And so one of the interesting things about that is that if you're having a problem and you're finding yourself constantly cycling, check the environment, because your environment will determine your outcome. For instance, my personality type, I am a very outgoing person. I need to be on stages. I love talking to people. If there's people, Jim is there, right? You're not going to find me often behind a screen. But for years, and this is where I became guilty of this, I was trying to build funnels and I was trying to build websites. Matter of fact, I had Bluehost for 3 years. I was managed to put my website up there. Can I build a website? Sure. But I put my website up there, and for 3 years, that's all that sat there was just my URL attached to WordPress. That's it. Why? because I am not thriving in the details. I'm thriving in the people, but I tried to be in the details. So instead of being out networking, instead of being around people, I was in this place of behind the screen the whole time. That's not who I am. That's not what my personality dictates. I was in the wrong environment. You know what that does? It severely limits on what you're able to accomplish. It's like somebody who wants to join a band and they're like, can you sing? Well, no. Can you play an instrument? Well, no. Then why do you want to join a band, right? They just don't compute. There's a story that I like, and his name is Joshua Bell. And you may have heard this story. He is a world famous violinist and classical musician. And so he did this social experiment where he went to a New York City subway. Now here's the picture. This is a world class musician in a New York subway, and you've got all those really bad smells down there. It's dark at places, there's dinginess, there's dirt, and this is like, these don't match, right? They don't compute. Well, Josh came in and he said, you know what, I'm going to play for these people. So he goes down with his violin and he's playing, and in maybe a few hours, he got $30 in tips, very little bit of recognition. Nobody actually acknowledged him. And the interesting part about that, he was in a New York subway with a $3.5 million violin and a world-class musician who that night sold $100 tickets and sold the place out in an environment that never recognized his ability or even recognized his gift. And so you can be a world-class individual, and if you're in the wrong person, you will never be the person you were created to be. You will never accomplish the things you were created to accomplish. Why? Because you have an insanely powerful gift in the wrong environment. Now, does that mean it's a bad environment? No, but it's a wrong environment for you. Everybody has an environment that unleashes their potential. And if you're not in an environment that unleashes your potential, you're in the wrong environment. So how do we actually like break that down and really look at this? Number one is does your gift and your talents and your personality match the environment you're in? I love what Anna said. She, when she became homeless, like she was sitting in this place of darkness. She was sitting in this place of, I'm trying to do the thing in a bad environment. So she got, that epiphany and was like, wait a minute. And now you look at her, she's incredibly successful, an amazing impactor. Why? Because there was an awakening that says, I am not in the proper environment. My gifting and my life does not match with my current situation. So she changed her current situation. I think that's a beautiful way to see that from our previous speaker. If you didn't see it, make sure you go back and watch that because it was powerful. And so that's number one. Number two, you're stuck in survival mode. When you get into the proper environment, you should be thriving, not surviving. And if you find yourself in survival mode, then the environment may not be the right environment for you. Number three is you want to check your health, your mental health, your physical health, your emotional health, all of that, because well-being is a huge part of that. If you're suffering in your health, whatever part of your health, relational health, you're not in the right environment. Now, I want to tell you about 1 second that just because the environment you're put in may, allow your gifting to go, it doesn't mean it's going to be the easiest environment, because right doesn't mean easy. Right means it's going to be conducive for growth and, results. That's what I'm talking about. Doesn't make it easy. So if you find that your health and everything else is suffering like majorly, you're in the wrong environment, because you were never meant to be at a place of this lack of health. You were in a place to thrive. Remember that. And even say that to yourself like now, I am here to thrive. And some of you who said that may have found a little tension. If you found tension, there's some healing that needs to happen, and there's an environment that needs to shift. And the last one is your talents and your contributions are actually recognized. And it's the beautiful thing when you're in an environment that supports you, that wants you, they celebrate you, right? And I think there's too long that we go to places where we're tolerated, not celebrated. And I promise you, what you celebrate stays in your life, and what you celebrate keeps returning. What you tolerate may go away. So that joy factor, if you sit in a place where you're just tolerated and you're tolerating what's being tolerated, joy goes away. Hope goes away. Any type of thing that you want to push to goes away. It becomes depression. because you're living at a lower level than you were meant to live because you're in the wrong place. So it comes down to this: you can leave the environment, you can create your own environment, or you can put the right people in the right environment. So this is where we come into the second thing, is about the right people. Now, I am a huge proponent of your inner circle, and there's been studies that says, the 5 people, like 4 or 5, like the study shifts. Maybe sometimes it's 5, sometimes it's 6, but irregardless, the people that you put in your inner circle, you become just like. So if you're finding yourself in places that you don't like who you are, check your inner circle. Because I promise you, you share or you mimic things that's going on in that circle. And so if you could be in a right environment with the wrong people, and if you're in a right environment with the wrong people, you won't thrive. You may be in a place where your gifting is needed, but if the people are not supporting you, they're not growing you, they're not challenging you, and they're only talking negative junk to you, you don't have the right people in your life. Or here's another part of being the right people. If you have people in your life who are just yes people and just want to say yes to whatever you say, they're the wrong people. You need people in your life who are going to stand up and say, that was not okay, and we need to talk about that in a healthy manner, right? So the right people placed with the right environment creates incredible growth. So what do the wrong people look like? Now, again, I want to digress and just say, just because they're the wrong, I'm saying the word wrong people, it doesn't mean they're bad people. They're just wrong for you. And we got to make sure we understand that. They're not bad in per se. Some of them may be bad, but they're just not right for you and the direction of your life and where you're going. So here's a few things that you can do to check that out. Number 1, do they emotionally drain you? If you emotionally drain me, you are not in my inner circle. You are probably going to be somebody I'm an acquaintance with. I may be your coach at some point to help you come and bring that vibration and that life up so that you're not so draining because you may be complaining too much. But if you are somebody who is constantly draining people, you're not in my inner circle, and they shouldn't be in yours either. Because your inner circle should be people that are constantly pushing you and energizing you, right? Number 2, they don't support you. They don't support your goals. They don't support your directions. Now, understand what I'm saying is I don't want people in my life who are not going to support me. Now, I want people in my life who are, if I have a crazy idea, and I have a lot of crazy ideas, my personality type and who I am, I'm an idea generator. So I have tons of crazy ideas. And I got people in my life saying, hold on, Jim, back up. That one may not be doable for you. And so I've got people in my life that say that, but you want to make sure that there are people that are going to support the direction that you're going, in as much that, number 1, on one side, they're going to encourage you, equip you, and do whatever they need to do to help support you in there. And the other side, when you have crazy ideas, they're going to call you out, because you need both in your life. The other thing is, and this is a huge one, and I find that this is one of the ones that I coach a lot on, incidentally, is boundaries. Because if they're not respecting your boundaries, they're not your people. Your people will respect your boundaries. And what are boundaries really? I'm going to give you one sentence, and this is how I describe it. Boundaries are what I'm going to do, my reaction to your behavior. So if somebody is having an crazy behavior, something that I'm not going to connect with, something that's going to drain me, something that's going to hurt me, this is what I'm going to do in light of what you're doing. It's controlling my actions, not yours. But there are people that where you will communicate your boundaries and go, hey, I don't like that. We're not going to talk anymore. And they won't stop. People who violate your boundaries and won't stop when they say, hey, this is a boundary, we need to take a break. These are people that don't need to be in your life, because if they violate your boundaries, they have no respect for you. If they have no respect for you, then they don't need to be in a position of trust and respect from you. Now, respect and love everybody, but don't put them in that key position of being your inner circle, because at the moment they become that inner circle, these are the people you're drawing from. And the last one is, they highlight your flaws instead of your potential. They highlight your flaws instead of your potential. And if you've ever been around those people, it's like, well, you were just this, or you were just this, never ever saying to you, man, I know you messed up here, but look at what you're capable of. I don't know about you, but I want people around me that are going to say, Jim, look at what you're capable of. Look, I know you failed. I know you made a mistake. I know you're struggling here, but look at what you're capable of. Those are the people I want in my life. And now one other thing I'll tell you, and then we'll move on to the last point, is the gossip factor. Make sure if anybody gossips, they just get pushed out immediately. Because here's what I know. If they talk to you about someone, they're talking to someone about you. You don't need them in your life. Give them the boot, and don't, and here's the thing. Don't be ashamed of that, because I think sometimes we are so loyal that we're willing to be more loyal than our mental health can support. So which really means we're willing to take hits to our mental health, our emotional health, to be loyal, when what we should be is loyal to us first, meaning my health and my health, mental, emotional, physical, comes first, so that I can be the best and sharpest for the people I'm here and God has created me to impact, and not just so much being so loyal to one person that I am completely wrecked, right? So we got to shift that. So first we talked about the environment, then we talked, then we talked about people. And I got a quick story about the people, and then we'll go into right information. So when I was growing up, let me tell you a quick story. So when I was growing up, I was in Philadelphia, and this was a hard place to live. This is a hard place to, survive. So we got into some groups, some friend groups. The group started off great, and one of the challenges that we had in that group was that they started drinking, they started doing, illicit things like drugs and all that stuff. And what I found myself is going down that road. And over time, I was like, wait, I came to my senses. I was like, wait, I don't want this. And actually, I joined the military to get away from a lot of this. And I said, I don't want this. Well, fast forward a couple years, is most of them no longer alive, because one reason or another, the road they took ended their lives. And that could have been me. And I could have been to the point where I'm not standing here with you today if I followed that. And I told this story to transition into the right information simply because of this. You have to have the right people around you. You have to be in the right environments, because you can have tragic endings if you're not constantly and obsessively evaluating these things, which then brings into us our last point. You've got to have the right information. Now, what's really interesting about this is we live in the AI age, the artificial intelligence. We live in the hands things. When I was growing up, I'm a Gen Xer. Some of you other guys who are Gen X on there, you know that when you wanted information, you had to go to the library. You got to look in the Dewey Decimal System. That's a word you probably haven't heard in a while. You got to look through the things. You got to read the newspaper. You didn't have access to the internet, right? That came a little later. Like the phones and everything we have, I didn't have a phone until later. I had a beeper. You remember those? If you knew what a beeper was, let me know in the comments if you ever had one of those. But I had a beeper. So you had to really look. And we had a set of Encyclopedia Britannicas. The guy came to the door, knock, knock. Hey, would you like to buy encyclopedias? Sure. I'm in school. My mom bought a set of encyclopedias. This was how we looked. But because we're in the new age of artificial intelligence, you can go to ChatGPT or Google Gemini or Perplexity or any of these other 100 things out there, and you can go, what is this and why does this matter? And boom, within minutes, you get the information. And here's what the ramifications and the benefits of that is that every problem you have, there's a book out there or some information that solves it. It's already been written. Most people don't think in terms like that. If you have a certain problem, somebody's already written a book or talked about it. So you go to these AIs and say, is there a book or is there information out there on this subject? Boom, 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 everything you need. Because sometimes, or actually most time, the reason why we can't solve our problems is a lack of information. And more information gives us the tools we need and the perspective we need in order to solve our problems. And I love what John Maxwell says. John Maxwell says this way. He's like, there's a three thing. It says, he's like, you know what you know. And this is your expertise. These are what you are. Everybody on here who's spoken all have an expertise, whether it be, the self-worth, whether it be transformational. Everybody has a leadership. Everybody has an expertise. You know what you know. And then there's things that you know what you don't know. And this is where you get into like, well, I know of something, but I don't know something. Like I know of like astrophysics, but I've never learned it, right? You may know of what neuralistic planning or, as Anna said, neuralistic linguistic photography. Have no idea. We got a new word. We're going to figure that out, right? And I joke and I jest with that, but the reality is there are things that we know of, but we don't know. And so we've got to go out and find information on that. And then there's this last thing. There's things that we don't know that we don't know. And these are our blind spots. And I want to bring this in because this is where the people and the environment come together to help with our blind spots, to create an incredible, unstoppable force. Because where you are blind, if you have the right people around you, they're going to call out your blind spots. And then you get the right information to start working on your blind spots so that your blind spots no longer are your blind spots. You may find other ones you aren't aware of, but you need people in your life to call those out because you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. But if I have the right people, I know that I will know because somebody's going to call it out. And if I'm put in the right environment of that, where we're constantly growing, where we're pushing one another, where we're accessing our gifts, where we're accessing our talents, where we're accessing relationship, guess what? You will be unstoppable. 2026, looking back, you will be like, I've never had a year quite like 2025. Because why? Because you aggressively went after the environments you're in, and you unapologetically went after them. You aggressively and unapologetically reviewed all the friends in your inner circle. Some people you need to move out to your outer circles and bring new into your inner circles because you did that. And then you got the information you needed to have the proper perspective in order to create the life that you want to create. Now, I want to just end with this last thought. And right doesn't mean perfect. Let me say that one more time again, because a lot of you guys are dealing with perfectionism, imposter syndrome, and things like this. Right does not equal perfect. It equals growing. It equals the environment or the place that you're learning to grow, the place that's challenging you. That's right. But it doesn't need to be perfect. The enemy of perfect is process and progress. So commit to being in progress and launching things imperfectly and doing these things and making sure that you understand that it's going to get messy before it gets better as you do these things. But right does not equal perfect. And here's the thing. The right place, the right people, the right information will make you unstoppable. So when you deal with overwhelm, when you deal with all of this stuff that you like, man, this is a lot. Start small. Don't, in the Bible, it really talks about don't hate small beginnings. Like everybody starts somewhere and you start small, but you take action. And I think we have a plague of people who like to think about things and never act on it. Take action today by evaluating your environments. Does your gift match up? Are you in the right place? The people in your life, evaluate them. Are these the best for my health? And do they push me to be the best me? And the information, what do I need in order to grow? You do those and you will have the most productive year, and you will find out in 2026 that you had the most results driven year. So thank you for your time. And I just appreciate you guys being here today. And thank you, JB, for having me up.